Okay, good morning, everybody. I just want to introduce Molly Murphy to our Master Gardener info training sessions today. Molly is, I figured out from the internet, a fictional private detective as part of a book series, but she's also the plant pono specialist for the Big Island Invasive Species Council. Molly contributes a lot. I see a lot of what Molly does, and she's really great in trying to control the invasive species here on Big Island, but I'll let her discuss a little bit more what she does and what she's talking about today. Good morning, Molly.
Morning. Thank you, Russell. Let me share my screen. Oh, that's weird. Okay. Okay. So today we're going to talk about devilweed, botanically known as Chromalina odorata. So devilweed is in the Asteraceae family, which includes dandelions, sunflowers, zinnias. It's one of the biggest families of plant species. And it's native to South America, Central America, and Southern Florida. It's kind of weedy in its native range, but nothing like it is outside of its native range. In its native range, it's got insects and pathogens that kind of eat it and damage it and somewhat keep it in check. But here in the tropics, there is really nothing that eats devilweed outside of its native range. So devilweed was listed as a noxious weed in 1993. And that's really exciting because if it's on that list, that means there's regulatory authority to control it. You know, it's perfectly legal to sell invasive species, but it's not with noxious weeds. The law states that you can't sell it, cultivate it, or introduce it into an area that's relatively free of that weed. So yeah, the noxious weed list helps us a lot because with BISC, we don't have regulatory authority. We just have to sweet talk homeowners into letting us control plants on their property. Sometimes we bribe them with native plants. So devilweed scored a 28 on the Hawaii Pacific Weed Risk Assessment. It's not the highest. I think, oh, Lantana scores the highest. But yeah, devilweed scores the same as Clydemia. It makes 800,000 seeds per plant per year. And these seeds, it's an achene that's attached with like this fluffy parachute. So they're readily wind dispersed, and also they're really good at attaching to animals, tools, hair, cars. It's kind of like Velcro. It's toxic to livestock. In the Philippines and India, thousands of cattle have died after consuming devilweed. It's also promotes fires. The way it grows, it kind of scrambles up on itself, and the lower branches and stems are sometimes dead and drying. Plus, it's got chemicals in the leaves that help it burn really, really bright and fast. And so, yeah, it aggressively colonizes areas, and it puts out allelopathic chemicals in the ground that prohibit the growth of other species. So how did devilweed get here? Well, it's a bit of a mystery, but it was first discovered in Oahu in 2011 at the Kahuku Motocross track. Now this track is also at a military base. On the weekends, they open it up and let people come ride their dirt bikes and ATVs and all that good stuff. So we found it in that area. And as you can see, it has spread island wide. it's just, the seeds are so small, you don't even know if it's attached to your sweater or your dog or your motorcycle. It is beyond eradication in Oahu right now, sadly. There's just not enough money, funding, and manpower to go out and find every plant and eradicate it. So what they have now, it's called the Devilweed Crew, and it's a community group of people that go hiking in native forests around Oahu, looking for devilweed. You know, when they find it, they pull it up and report it. It's kind of like how our Albizia program works at Bisque. You know, we're never going to get rid of Albizia, but we can contain it out of certain areas, and we can help the community control their Albizia. Yeah, we have Albizia assassins, and they've got the Devilweed Crew. So Hawaii Island, we don't know how it got here, but it was found January 2021 at the Hilo motocross track. Could be a connection. It seems likely, but we're not sure. My boss, Springer K, she is always botanizing, even on the weekends. Her teenage son had been begging her to go to the motocross track for weeks. So finally, she's a good mom. She relented. She took him there, and he's cruising around doing sweet jumps, and she's looking around and she sees this plant that looks oddly familiar. And she goes up and looks at it, and sure enough, it's devilweed, and it is covering a huge area, seeds everywhere. So, you know, she rallied the troops and got the Hawaii Department of Agriculture on board, and they've been working very hard to control it at the motocross track. It's a pretty big infestation, hundreds of acres. One of the things we're trying to do is perhaps bulldoze it, because it's just grassland, there's no trees. It might be more cost effective to bulldoze certain areas than send out the field crew to go, you know, walk their sweeps looking for it and pulling it up. So we thought maybe it was just there. We were hoping. The early detection crew went and surveyed Mono Road and other places where people ride off-road vehicles, and none were found. So then it's May or June 2021, and I go to the Maku'u tide pools in Hawaiian Paradise Park with my boyfriend. We park the truck, and I see this plant, and I'm like, but I just, you know, walked away, enjoyed the ocean. And then I came back and gave it a second look. It was another patch of devilweed growing all over the cliffs. So now we know it's moving around. And you know what? HDOA came right out and took care of that population. So that one's already gone. So meanwhile, somehow it came to our attention that somebody in Leilani posted a picture of an unknown plant on iNaturalist. 2017. Well, guess what? It was devilweed. So we know it was in Leilani in 2017 at least. And then we did a big social media program to get people to please report any unknown weeds. You know, we can't be everywhere. We can't find all the weeds. So we like to get the community to help us out. Well, we got about 60 devilweed reports. And thankfully, 52 of them were lookalike species. But we would rather look at 1 million lookalike species than miss one valid devilweed report. Well, we did get a few valid reports from this, and one was in orchid land. And I was emailing with the man, and he said, yeah, I've had it I bought my property in 2018 and it's been here the whole time and it's this horrible vine. And I said nicely to him, you know what, sir, it's not really a vine. It's more of like a small shrub. And he assured me it was a vine and then sent me pictures of just kind of a herbaceous piece that was about, I don't know, a foot long. Yeah, it was definitely devilweed. But I still was like, a vine? I'll show you pictures of devilweed vine in a few minutes. So yeah, then we found it in Hawaiian beaches. We looked around Leilani, found more of it in Leilani. And then I posted to the Black Sands Beach subdivision Facebook page. And a friend of mine replied and said, she's pretty sure she has it. I went out and checked it out and oh my gosh, she's got these devilweed vines growing up her ohia trees, up the utility poles, onto the utility vine. They are like 2 inches thick in diameter. It kind of seems like this is actually the oldest population. From what I understand, like nobody has seen vines this thick. So she and I were talking and we surveyed the neighborhood, and she is a goat farmer and she has a few different lots throughout Black Sands. We went to each place where her goats graze and found devilweed at each spot. We have, again, no idea how it got there. They left during the 2018 lava flow. And when they came back, that's when they noticed this weird vine growing on their property. So yeah, and I'm sure it's a lot more other places. We will see. Okay, so I'll tell you a little bit about devilweed identification. This is where I found it in the Maku'u tide pools. And as you can see, it's pretty herbaceous. It doesn't, yeah, it's just a pretty herbaceous plant in that location. Here are the vines that I found in Black Sands a few weeks ago. Like, do you see all those thick, woody stems? I mean, it's not really a vine because it doesn't have tendrils that will attach to other plants, but it kind of just scrambles and climbs up things and, you know, winds around it a little bit. Flowers, classic Asteraceae flowers. I like to call it a messy hair look. It's just a bunch of kind of raggedy styles. And the flowers come out in groups with a flat top. But I mean, it looks like a lot of other flowers. The leaves are one of the best ways to identify it. Some people have sent me, in fact, one of the master gardeners sent me a picture asking if it was devilweed, and I didn't know what it was because there wasn't flowers, but I knew it wasn't devilweed. I look for mostly this pitchfork vein pattern. It's got 3 longitudinal veins that go on the leaf. Many plants don't have longitudinal veins, except for the melastome family. I look for the toothed edges, like the way it's toothed. It's pretty regular and obvious. The triangle shape of the leaf is another really solid indicator. If you can touch it, it's got this really distinct turpentine smell. That's where the odorata comes from, Chromalina odorata. And then sometimes it has purplish new growth. Now, one of the cool things about the smell is it's perfect for detector dogs. Oahu uses this company, nonprofit company called Conservation Dogs Hawaii. And the dogs run around in the bushes and find plants where humans cannot. I just love that dogs might be what's going to save us from devilweed. Hawaii County gave us a grant to bring the detector dogs over here and help us also with detection. These are the leaves, and we picked these from one site. So they range in size pretty dramatically, in my opinion. I don't know, like 3-4 inches down to about 1.5 inches. Okay, so here are the lookalikes. These are the most common lookalikes that we get at the Big Island Invasive Species Committee. So this one is called Erichides or fireweed. I call it Hawaiian celery because if you look at the stalk of it, it looks like celery. This plant is everywhere. I'm sure you've all seen it. It's a pretty widespread weed. Thankfully, you can weed whack or mow it. It's pretty easy to control, but it's got these deeply lobed leaves. It's got hair on the leaves. It doesn't have that purplish new growth. And then the flowers grow in like a spear or a globe shape. Sisbeckia or St. Paul's wort. This one is a true look-alike. We got this picture from somebody on the Hamakua coast that said they had a botanically keen eye. I like the way he phrased it. Thankfully, it wasn't double weed because we don't have it up there in Hamakua. But the differences, the leaves, they're really irregularly toothed. So that's how we could tell the difference. But it does have all those similarities, the triangle shaped leaves, but it doesn't have the purplish new growth. It even has a longitudinal veins. We actually had to send this picture to Oahu, to our colleagues at OWISC to confirm the identity. And of course, the flowers look completely different. Mamaki, yeah, it doesn't have those pitchfork veins. The serration on the leaves are different. It's got really obvious red or pink veins oftentimes. And then of course, if it's fruiting, it's obvious. It's got that fleshy white fruit that attaches to the stem. Billy goat weed. 8 times out of 10, when we get a devil weed report, it's billy goat weed. This stuff is everywhere. I'm sure you've all seen it in the roadsides. The flowers look very, very similar, but it lacks the triangular shaped leaf. It doesn't have the 3 vein pitchfork vein pattern, and the serration is different. Blue snakeweed, I know it is vervain. It's obviously, if it's flowering, it's quite different. Stachytarfeta has a flower stalk with like one single purple flower. The leaves are oval shaped, not triangle. They've got that wrinkled texture. So yeah. Lantana, we haven't gotten anybody who's confused Lantana yet, but I think it's because it's always flowering, and you know, once you see the flowers, it's obvious. But the leaves are oval shaped. They feel like sandpaper, but they do have that certain kind of smell. So that's a look-alike. Oh yeah, and it only has one main leaf vein. Coster's curse. I had to take a long time convincing somebody that what she had was Coster's curse. And I could see why she really thought it was devilweed, because it's got those longitudinal veins. And that is what the melastome family oftentimes has. So the leaf shape, it's oval, it's not triangular. The leaves have that quilted kind of pattern on them. Devilweed does not have that. It's got no serration on the leaf edges. And then, you know, the flowers look different. Sour bush, this is another widespread weed. The leaves are oval shaped and fuzzy. They don't have toothed edges. They have a different smell, and the flowers look different. You know, once we ask people to go look at weeds in their yard, they start finding all these species and send them into us. Arthrostemma, or pink fringe. This stuff is all over the place, and it's really easy to get these two confused. It's also part of the melastome family, so it has those longitudinal veins, but it has 5 to 7, and devilweed has 3. The leaf shape is not triangular. The leaves aren't serrated, and of course it has 4 petals. Hypnus. So there's 2 species of Hypnus here on Hawaii Island, and I don't know how to tell them apart. And I haven't met anybody that can explain the differences to me, so I just call it Hypnus. The leaves are the wrong shape. They're broad, ovate, or obtuse. The leaf edges are more scalloped than serrated. It's part of the mint family, so it's got square stems. And it's got very small mint-like flowers. This is a common plant that people mistake for devilweed. Okay, so targeted herbicides are amazing. A lot of people are scared of the power of herbicides. So here again is a picture of the patch at Maku'u. Here is after HDOA came and sprayed it. It looks like scorched earth. I mean, it does look scary, but just a few months later, everything's growing back. You know, the Wedelia is coming back. I mean, it's all weeds, but the herbicide they used was targeted right for devilweed, and everything else is growing back. All right, so if you see devilweed, please report it. Like I said, I love looking at pictures of plants. So just send it in. We'd rather a million lookalike species than miss one valid devilweed report. Devilweed, it's still an eradication target for bisque. We still think we might be able to get rid of it. So we're working hard on it. We'll see. Okay, any questions?
Sure, we've got a question here from Deborah. What's the herbicide that was used to control devilweed?
I'm sorry, I don't know what HGOA used. I know we use triclopyr or Garlon, and we'll do either a foliar spray, but like that patch and black sands, you can't foliar spray above your head. So we're doing some herbicide testing with Pathfinder to see if a hack and squirt method will work, or cut stump will definitely work.
And I have a question. So is this weed disturbance prone? So because if it was found in 2 motocross areas, that's high disturbance areas. So I'm wondering if it's a weed that's preferring disturbance.
For the most part, yes. For the most part, it needs sun, but we did find, yeah, it's disturbance, definitely disturbance adapted, because we've seen, I don't know, 50 plants in one area, and then there's Vivy in the next area, and it's really rarely found in the Vivy.
But it seems like once it gets a foothold, it's kind of really competitive against other herbaceous weeds that are of the same size.
Yeah. One good thing it has going for it is the seed bank longevity. It doesn't last, the seeds don't last very long in the seed bank.
Oh, cool.
So that's one good thing we have going for us.
Yeah, that's nice.
readily want to eat it?
Yeah, Laura's asking, do cattle readily want to eat it? Is it preferred compared to other plants, or is it this kind of situation where, if you know this, if cattle are just eating it as a last option, but it's just so prevalent?
Yeah, I don't know why the cattle ate it, but my friend that's a goat farmer has been giving it to her goats. She didn't know that it was bad.
Oh no.
Yeah, well, she stopped.
Yeah, and did she report any health issues with the goats?
Not yet. And it's not like they just had devilweed as their main source.
Yeah.
It was just once in a while she'd throw it
Mixed
over their fence.
Mhm.
But what's scary is she sold or gave away about 5 goats 6-7 months ago. We don't know where they went. And likely they've got seeds on them.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, but the military has a long history of spreading devilweed. Apparently, during World War II is when a lot of the spread took place. It's pretty bad in Guam. So I think ours, it came from Guam. I don't know if I mentioned that, to Oahu.
Oh, okay. Makes sense.
Likely with the military.
Great. Any other questions, folks? Has it been found along Saddle Road? And actually, what's the highest elevation that have you found it? And does it have a certain elevation cap?
So far, we've only found it at low elevations. But I know in Oahu, they're finding it at higher elevations. But their mountains are more extreme. Ours are more gradual. So we haven't found it on Saddle Road. I'm not sure if that would be the best environment, the best conditions for it to grow, but it does grow in a wide variety of climates and soil types.
Great.
If a homeowner finds it, should they pull it or just contact this?
So if a homeowner finds it, Molly, should they pull it or call Bisque? What's your preference?
Okay, it depends on how much you have. If you pull it, throw it in the garbage, because it is a noxious weed and it's illegal to put invasive species in the Hilo green waste.
Oh, okay.
Which is funny because I mean it's all invasive species.
Yeah.
I love my county mulch. But yeah, throw it in the garbage. If it's too big to handle, please let us come and help you out.
Okay.
We don't always have to herbicide. Herbicide is the easiest, but if you prefer we don't, we will go and hand pull it. We'll take the plants and we will take them to the landfill.
Yeah, but Bisque would prefer that homeowners report it also, even if they're going to.
Yeah, yes.
So that you
please.
have an idea of its spread.
Please.
Okay. Great. I think that's it for questions. Awesome. Thank you, Molly.
Have a great day, everybody.
Yeah. So if we don't see you sooner, hopefully we'll see you for the Master Gardener training class 2022.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Woo woo.
All righty.
All right. Have a good day, everybody. Aloha.
Take care, everybody.